Cincinnati's reputation as a haven for startups is growing, and with very good reason. Some great news late last week from CincyTech. The downtown early-stage investor has closed its third seed fund. The $11 million fund is CincyTech's largest to date and has the capacity to invest in at least 15 local tech startups. CincyTech Fund 3 combines $5 million of state money from Ohio, Third Frontier, with $6 million raised locally from institutions and private investors. 51 individual investors have committed to invest in Fund 3. That's up dramatically from 9 in CincyTech's previous fund. Since 2007, CincyTech portfolio companies have created 390 jobs and attracted $228 million in follow-on capital and outside funding. CincyTech's president, Bob Coy, is with Business Courier editor Rob Dahlmeyer in the studio with more on Fund 3 and its impact on our community. Rob and Bob?
Brian, thanks. Bob, thanks for being here. Congratulations, your biggest fund so far. Has to be a good feeling for you to get that wrapped up.
It's a very good feeling. Thank you.
Brian touched on where the money comes from, but maybe you could be a little more specific and talk about specifically where the money comes from, who is a part of this, and then how you decide where you put the money.
Well, as you know, CincyTech invests only in Southwest Ohio. And our investors are investing in us because they want a return, but they also care deeply about the future of this region's economy, and they see entrepreneurship as a key to that future. So our institutional investors include well-known organizations in town like Cincinnati Children's Hospital, the Health Foundation of Greater Cincinnati, the Greater Cincinnati Foundation, all investing, not grants, giving us grants. And then we have 51 individual investors who are high net worth individuals who almost all are successful business people themselves, who invest a minimum of $50,000 up to $200,000 in the fund. And they provide not just capital, but many are also interested in helping us to evaluate the opportunities and also serving on the boards of these companies.
Now, you said it yourself, this is not a grant, these are investments, which means they're hoping to get their money back.
Correct.
Maybe even more than that. So how do they decide what's right, and how do you guys decide where to put this money? You said these people that are, these individuals can sort of help that process, but what is that process? Are you interviewing companies? Are you interviewing people?
Yes, we have an investment focus, first of all, and our investment focus are startup companies that are either IT related or bioscience related. We'll also look at like advanced materials companies and advanced energy companies, but most of the deal flow that we see from this region is in the IT space or in the life sciences space. So when we evaluate an opportunity, it has to be what we would consider to be a high potential opportunity, which means that it generally has an intellectual anchor, whether it's intellectual property or a founder who knows the industry deeply. It has to have an addressable market of at least $250 million a year. And we have to believe that we can bring other investors along with us, because when we invest, we don't invest alone. We'll form a syndicate. So we'll do the due diligence, we'll provide some technical assistance and mentoring, we'll convince ourselves perhaps that we should invest, but then we have to go out and find other investors and convince them to invest as well before we invest. So there's a sort of two sets of eyes, so to speak, looking at this before we make an investment.
So your original goal was $6 million. You reached 11 million. Actually, we thought it was a little less than 11 million the other day. Now it's 11 million. Actually got 53 individual investors now instead of 51.
Correct.
What's happening? Why are you doing better than even your goals set aside for yourself?
Well, I think it's it's a combination of things, but primarily it's that the companies in our first two funds, many of the companies in the first two funds are doing very well. We've had one exit to date that returned 12 times capital to our investors. Wow. We have another of other very promising companies in the portfolio that should exit within the next year or two. So initially, I think that in our first fund, we didn't have any individual investors, and they were all institutions like Cincinnati Children's Hospital, the Health Foundation, Fort Washington Capital Partners. And I think that those institutions did it hoping that we would succeed, but feeling like this is good for the community and we should try, and they took the initial risk. But with individual investors, they look at it differently. They care about the community, but it's their own money, and so they really care that they get it. They want it back with some return. So I think it's the performance of the first two funds that has brought those more individuals to the table.
Well, congrats on the third fund, and hopefully we'll see bigger and better things to come, but first you have to figure out how to spend this. But thanks for being here.
Thanks very much.